This morning we're going to be talking to Dave Wright. Dave loved his work, loved his job, but he decided he wanted to do something he loved even more, which is his fascination with history and the history of Dublin. So he seems to have planned very well, has made the transition successfully, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Dave, did you enjoy working life?
I loved my working life.
Why did you decide to get out?
In the last few years was mainly in print buying, and the digital world had taken over. And sometimes I think after 42 years, when the opportunity arose, I thought, yeah, maybe it's time to move on. I also had this huge love of history.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, maybe I should do something different. And I went on a course. So I started out with a guy called Pat Liddy. He was running a course for people who wanted to become tour guides.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get into the course.
Yeah.
So it was like a rebirth.
Would you recommend people seek advice, or would you think to do it yourself?
I think advice is hugely important. Nobody knows everything, but I was very lucky, Brian, when I retired or changed career, because I had quite a cohort of friends who were roughly in the same age bracket,
Right.
and who also had the free time.
Right.
So, for instance, we set up a cycling club, and there's four of us that would go cycling at least once a week, maybe twice a week. We also then go walking once or twice a week. The guys that I knock around with are all of the same age, and they're all different backgrounds, completely different backgrounds from me. But the common thing is that we are all in the last quarter.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we're quite aware of that, and we talk about it. So there is this feeling of the closing of the evening, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't all plain sailing either, by the way. Yeah. There was many dark days, and there was many hills to climb and mountains to climb.
Where did you reach to get through those days?
I would be very grounded by people around me. And I think the word perspective was something I always trotted out. You know, perspective to me is the really crucial thing, to know that you're only a player in part of this whole big scheme.
Would you sort of say the steps that you went through? Did you go and talk to someone, or was it all in your own head, or did you talk internally? Did you plan it step by step, or how did that work for you?
I set about looking at the financials first, and I was quite, I suppose, what's the word, forensic in the way I looked at it.
If you were looking at, say, somebody in a similar position, what would your advice be to them in terms of how they might approach that?
I suppose the first one is not to go off a cliff, right? That is the biggest advice I would give, to gradually make the change, and that you're still maintaining, I suppose, a foot in the old world and a foot in the new world.
Dave, this has been an amazing conversation. I must say, I've loved every second of it.
Okay, Brian, I appreciate that.
Not at all.
Mind yourself.
I love that interview with Dave. He has done that so successfully. He's made that transition. And the lesson I think we can learn from him is plan, plan, plan. Do not make any radical moves, but do it slowly and do it with thoughtfulness.